Wednesday went up quite often.
We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. This meeting is in compliance with the open meeting law and has been properly posted. Public comment, we'll go around the public comment portion at the beginning of the meeting. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, give your name for the record, the amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed and may be limited. Anybody wish to speak during this portion of the agenda? Seeing no one, close that portion. We have possible action, motion on the final minutes from the December 20th DDRC meeting.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion for approval. Any other comments? Please cast your vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All in favor, or opposed? Ayes have it. We'll go to item 5, ARC 44218, DDRC public hearing, applicant Precious Tattoo Company, owner LDL LLC, Series 5. The possible action or request for a signage design review for an existing tattoo parlor, body piercing studio, and waivers of Title 19.08 sign standards at 1141 South Las Vegas Boulevard. Staff.
I think because this is a somewhat complicated application and there have been a couple of revisions since the staff reports went out, it might be easier if we review it elevation by elevation, because some of the signs aren't necessarily lettered in order. So if you could turn towards the back of your staff report to the west elevation, which is the front elevation that faces Las Vegas Boulevard, and we'll just go through it like that. It might be the easiest.
Okay. Starting with sign A.
It starts, yes. Sign A, which is the painted sign along the bottom of the facade, is going to be removed. A waiver is requested for no illumination on sign H, which is the painted sign that says tattoo right next to the door. A waiver is requested for no neon illumination on the window signs, which are G through I. And the maximum of all area of the signs exceeds, of the window signs exceeds the maximum allowable, so a waiver is requested for that as well. When you're ready, we can move on to the north facade.
Okay.
This facade, there would be a waiver requested because the signage itself exceeds the allowable area. However, the neon, it will be neon, so it meets scenic byway neon illumination requirements. Also, sign D, which is the rear parking sign, will be removed.
You're on sign R2.
That's R3, the top,
Oh,
that rear
Yeah,
parking,
please don't say-
roof sign.
This would be the sheet that I'm on now, where it says up at the top, north elevation.
Yeah, we don't have it.
We don't have that one, ours printed out, it doesn't say north elevation or anything, so if you could just say
Ours
all
are
3 years
fine.
over.
Towards the back?
Yeah, we have the sign, we just don't.
Yeah, we see it. We
It's our
just don't have the lighting on.
Okay.
oh,
Oh, those were the additional ones that we submitted, I believe, after, because their site plans, he had asked for a more detailed site plan.
oh.
Yes.
No,
Do you have copies to pass out there?
Yeah, I actually submitted them on the 3rd, and I had submitted 11 copies for everybody.
Sorry, I was, there's 2 sets of,
Okay.
I was on the front set, you're on the back
Yeah, the
set.
very back side.
There we go, okay.
So you have the thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got it, we got it.
Okay.
All right.
So the east elevation, which is the rear, I don't, I'm not sure what number that is. R-2, okay. Signs B and sign C. B is the smoke shop on the far right top of the facade would be removed, and sign C, this 24/7 tattoo would also be removed, and here's the image showing that those have already been removed. The tattoo and body piercing neon would remain, and that meets the illumination requirements. There is a waiver requested for the illumination requirement for sign F, which is the door sign. It does not meet the scenic byway illumination requirements.
And that's the main door, or that's the second?
It's the back
That's the
door.
rear, right.
Okay.
Do we think it's realistic not to put neon on doors like that?
Excuse me, through you, Mr. Chair. May I have the name for the record?
Vicky Barella,
And just spell your last name for me.
Barela.
Thank you.
Now we have, is there one other sign on the other face of the building?
No, I think that's, what's that?
The east face. We did that, okay, so the north face of the building is the other.
That is all,
That's east.
that is all the signs.
Was there a painted sign on the north face?
In the north face, I thought the wall was
That
painted.
is,
Yeah.
Sign
yeah, it's
gauge.
painted, but it has neon on it.
Oh, okay,
Right.
all right.
Oh, and removal of the pole, correct, would also be removed.
It's just the sign is being removed, not the pole.
No, correct. The pole's there. We're just going to paint over what we painted on the pole because it's actually built for a sign cabinet to sit on top, but the sign cabinet's not there. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing more on staff's part, we will let you address those, or you're in agreement with everything that
I
staff
am.
has presented?
Yes, I am in agreement of everything. There was one sign that it didn't suggest approval on, and that is the west window. And that one we didn't want to waive. We were asked for a permit to add the illumination to it. I believe the problem was the square footage of why it was suggested not to be approved. I felt at the time that we did the pictures, it was Christmas time, so we have all of our Christmas decorations or painting on the window as well, and I felt like that really clouded the actual signage that's up there. So I brought pictures of what it looks like without the Christmas decoration on there so we can get a better idea of how much of the window space it takes up. And then that's the only thing that I'd like to see if we can rediscuss to actually be able to keep that window sign. I've also had pictures of what the storefront will look like once we cover everything, and it just pretty much leaves the neon precious sled up top, which isn't the best description for the business or the storefront. I'm hoping that we can do something to better it and show more of what we do rather than just the name. So I brought these. There's actually a copy for everybody. And it shows what it currently looks like is the first one. The second page is what it will look like with all the everything removed. And then the third page just shows what it would look like with just Precious Slut and the window. Everything else is completely agreed upon. All the signs that we suggested to remove, it was the same findings. And then the neon and the existing signs that we wanted to keep, it suggests that the waivers be accepted. So the window was really the only thing that I wanted to discuss.
So if I understand, you're good with taking all the lettering off the door?
Yes, we could remove all the lettering off the door, and we'd also remove that tattoo behind the door, and then the lettering underneath the window.
Are you proposing to leave
the window.
tattoo
Well,
underneath
um,
precious slut?
no, we were actually going to remove that, and that was based on that we would be able to keep the window. If we can't keep the window, then I wanted to suggest if we could possibly get a waiver on square footage, because that tattoo, because it's not illuminated, doesn't fit the size requirement for illumination. So when we tried to apply for the window, we were just planning on covering up tattoo, so we would have Precious Slut up top, and then we would have the window advertisement as well. And then we would be able to keep the address on the door. Is that correct? The 1141? Okay.
So the window is or is not illuminated?
It's not, but there is plans to illuminate it. We had the sign company come out, and that's in the packet. He wanted to put neon inside the window of the logo. So basically, the Precious Slut would be illuminated.
I have a question of staff. Are any of the signs permitted to date? None. Okay, so the question I would have with the applicant is sign K, which I believe is the facade front Precious Slut.
Yes.
With the illumination. It appears to me to be a painted sign with neon attached to the wall.
Yes, it's exposed neon.
So none of this electric has been reviewed by our building department.
I don't believe so, but I had the sign company. He went up and he kind of took a look at that basically.
After you got, okay.
Yes, because we had it's Patrick Signs, and then we have the same thing on the east elevation. It says body piercing and tattoo, and that's done the exact same way. It's exposed neon. And then he had made notes of how it is installed on his sign chart as well.
My concern to the other commissioners, I don't know that that'll pass building safety inspection, so we might be approving a sign which may in fact not be permitted. Generally, they're channel letters which are attached and then the neons inside or on top of them. I'm not an expert, but I think if it hasn't been reviewed by the building safety, something that will have to happen eventually, I imagine.
And I was under the impression, too, that exposed neon is what they're looking for on this scenic byway, that they're really looking for that bright, old Las Vegas theme.
Yeah, my concern from aesthetics is that all the draping that occurs with running the wire,
Through.
right, that should all be, I don't think that should be visible during the daytime.
And that's something, too, I can have Patrick Signs revise or help make those proper if they're not.
Some of these old style signs.
Yes,
You can hand paint the wires. I
Okay.
mean, I understand the idea of we all want pan channel letters, but some of these signs actually fit the historic character of the scenic byway better than
The lettering
some of the
would.
solutions that make everyone else
Right.
Okay.
comfortable.
And the sign company should be aware of what building and safety is up to code? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question of staff. The signs on the east elevation, isn't this property within 200 feet of residentially zoned property?
No, it's approximately, a conservative measurement was 220 feet, but staff feels it's more like 230 feet.
Okay. I still have a concern. With the east elevation of the building, you've got illuminated signs back there which face a residential neighborhood.
Yes, and that they had given us the residential line, and then with the sign company we had actually measured, and it was just over the 200 feet. We had 220 was our measurement.
Well, my question is, who are you advertising back to there? I mean, there's...
What it really was the signage that we had got. The Precious Slut tattoo and body piercing had actually came off of another location that we had. And so we had the neon that was already done, and then that's where we had taken it from our garage where it sat for the last 2 years since we closed that business, and then we had just put the neon that we had up. So what we basically did was we looked at our store and seen where we could use the neon that we already had existing.
I would just suggest to the other members of the committee that, on that facade of the building, illuminated signage is really inappropriate. Again, there isn't any commercial traffic back there. other than it faces the parking lot where your patrons would park.
Exactly.
And, painted signage, I think, would be appropriate there. But really, the attention getting that you need to do is on Las Vegas Boulevard, not facing Park Paseo. And so I have some concerns about having illuminated signage there.
On the
I-
back. And
Yeah.
then would we be able to get a waiver for the illumination on that wall? Because,
I think it would be appropriate for the committee to approve non-illuminated signage on the back of that building, again, looking at the specific context. The scenic byway is really to have the illumination facing Las Vegas Boulevard and visible from Las Vegas Boulevard. At least that's the intent, and one of the reasons why the committee can approve waivers is to take those types of considerations and look at how that fits in with the regulations of the byway.
On the rear side, do you have the word tattoo illuminated?
yes, it's tattooing and body piercing is illuminated. It's the same exposed neon as Precious Slut on front.
I guess the question for staff is, if on the west elevation, the sign, the neon sign, Precious Slut at the top, and including the window decal that's going to stay on there, what's the new coverage ratio or amount of square feet covered? And does that even pass if we take down all the other signs?
We needed the measurement if you include all of that, or
There was one measurement for the window and one for the whole facade.
okay, so it actually might be within the requirements.
I don't know if that was,
Let's see.
What about the option of
that's what I'm looking
taking the word tattoo that's illuminated in the rear, putting it out in front to put more neon out there, and going with non-illuminated in the back?
In the back. Okay, and and then I believe that would put the square footage, because the Precious Slut is right at, I want to say, where is it? It's at 10.5 feet high. So if we put anything below it, then it falls below the height elevation requirement.
But currently you have Precious Sluts in the window.
Right, and that was another one that we would, it would be a waiver for the below the 10 feet.
That's just painted signs.
Yeah.
But removing that and putting,
We want to have it illuminated in there as well.
Yes, correct. Well, that was all part of the requirements. They said if we were going to try to keep the window, then we would have to have it illuminated. So we were basically taking what we already have and trying to see what we would be able to keep and still make everything work with the requirements.
Why don't we take these one face at a time? Maybe we can come to a solution.
Right.
I think, let's just talk about the rear of the building.
Okay.
I think the idea of making that non-illuminated, and I believe that having some signage on your rear door does highlight the door.
Okay.
It's not excessive, and it really doesn't show to anybody except your customer.
Okay.
I don't know how the rest of the
I'm
commission
not
would look at
familiar
that.
with Park Paseo, what kind of traffic drives on that road?
It's basically just people going back to the residential.
Residential, it's
Yeah.
residential behind it,
Yeah.
I understand.
So that would deal with the issue that
Of the illumination facing the
Flynn had
rear.
raised about the rear illumination.
Okay.
The north face, which is
The mural.
the painted sign,
Yes.
Painted with neon.
painted with
Exactly.
neon on the north face, which does face Las Vegas Boulevard, does have the image on the scenic byway. I don't think it,
Yeah,
and
and
that's really the commission's, whoever the motion, but I think we'd either approve that or not approve it. I don't think we can pick and choose on that
great, so
issue.
the sign waiver, because that one was a little bit larger too, so had requested, I believe it was a size waiver as well.
And then, let's go back to the front, where you've got the illuminated precious slot, you got the window, and you're taking the phone number and smoke shop and body piercing off the lower side.
Correct, and then we had asked for a waiver for that tattoo on the right side, that can be removed as well. And that's the one right there behind the front door.
This one. This one.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Yeah. And the waiver was asked on that because the door opens towards it, it's
Right.
impractical for us to illuminate that at all.
Impractical to illuminate it, but
And then it was the same with the front door. But the most important to us is just having either the window or tattooing on that front somehow. So covering up the door and that tattoo on the right side would really, is not an issue with us. That would be fine.
and what would we change our coverage if we required the word tattoo above the window to be illuminated with the neon from the rear side of the building?
Which then would still have a building because it would be under 10.5.
Right.
Yeah.
To answer Commissioner Cotton's question, even with the Christmas decorations, the entire signage would still require a waiver if it exceeds the allowable size coverage for that facade, for the west facade.
Question for Jim. If they don't have tattoo on the front, just by the name, according to some old city ordinance I was reading, would this be considered where they'd have to go get a sexually oriented business license due to the name?
No. Nope. No.
Okay.
No, it has, if you, Chairman, if you want me to expand on that. The Section 8 business license is required when there's certain conduct within the premises and not the content of the signs on the building. And so generally speaking, we're looking for actions taking place that would trigger the requirement of the SOB ordinance. In this case, even I imagine tattooing certain areas likely does not trigger the Section 8 business ordinance. In fact, we haven't ever reviewed one of these tattoo parlors under the SOB ordinance. It's not specifically listed as one of the Section 8 businesses. And I think it would be a stretch for the city to now start considering these as Section 8 businesses, even with certain parts being tattooed from time to time.
Okay.
Is it-
Very good.
We're currently doing some calculations to find out if they add tattoo and remove sign H, the door sign, and sign A, if that will be within the requirements for the size, or we'll have to ask for a waiver for that, in addition to the height, being under 10 feet.
The name, my belief, just having the name there without saying tattoo doesn't really get you much.
That's exactly it. That's exactly,
I think it's confusing to the public.
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
And I
Get them a lot.
yeah. Probably a lot of turned away customers.
Exactly, exactly.
Um,
Understood. And then moving the tattoo and piercing too from the neon to the front, I'm going to I know that when we first had the sign company come, the building is completely brick, and that was a big problem with the install of the exposed neon,
Right.
because he would have to drill through the walls. And I'm unsure if he's going to be able to actually just move that signage from the back to the front, if the building's going to work with that install. I would have to discuss that with the sign and see if that's possible or not.
Generally, the way you wired the top sign,
He can just wire down.
yeah, I mean, it's still subject to the building department, but
Still, he should have okay, great.
But you just said tattoo and body piercing, moving all of that up front.
I don't believe there would be
Body
room. It
piercing.
would just be tattoo would be all there, yeah.
Tattoo, right?
Yeah, and then we would take the and body piercing neon off completely.
I think it's clear enough for somebody to craft a motion.
The window sign too, that's our main background for pictures and things like that. Because we are a tattoo company, we get a lot of famous people. We had the Jersey Shores kids in there. We had, right after the World Cup, some of the soccer players that actually came in and got tattooed. So we always use that as our background for the pictures. I know that's not extremely relevant to you guys, but it's relevant to why it's so important to have something lower with the logo on it that we can use as a background for things like that. We even have the double-decker buses. When they do the tours, they're actually stopping and pointing us out as well now too.
So, pop in and see the square footage. I think that's before I'm motion. The waivers one. With us. Thank you. So we still require a waiver for exceeding the 20% maximum, and also being under the 10-foot minimum height requirement. There's 2 additional waivers. Or 1 additional waiver, the other one still remains.
Those waivers require a new app, or can we do them under what's before us today?
We can approve them under what's before us today, as we do have the documentation in place.
Where's that letter?
That's-
Yeah, there.
Justification?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing else changed. Should we confirm the discussion before you make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go.
Mr. Lewis is contemplating.
All right, let's go back
Well,
to,
Chairman, just so you know what I'm doing, I'm looking at the justification letter to see if it's broad enough to justify a general discussion of any waiver you might want to take. They're pretty specific as to what actions you want to take. The good thing is our agenda item summary, while specific enough for the open meeting law, is broad enough maybe to allow that to happen.
That was
12 existing signs that didn't have permits. Removal 5, waivers for 3,
all the signage.
permits for 2 of the signs that seem to comply.
That's
I think we're okay to move forward.
no.
And let me just say why. I think we're okay to move forward because while we've got a specific list of things that the applicant would like this commission to consider, it is pretty general because it's asking for the sign plan to be approved and differences, and asking you to approve differences from our statute requirements. So I think you can go ahead and move forward.
So, again, I think the best way to take this is in pieces. Break it down into multiple motions so we can deal face by face. I think we can keep it clear. So, why don't we see if there's an appetite for a motion for the rear face of the building?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I make a motion to remove the tattoo and body piercing. However, to leave sign out, which is the door sign, and so it would only service their customers and wouldn't be seen from any other parcels.
You meant remove it as illuminated?
Correct. With the waiver of elimination on the rear.
Non-illuminated on the door.
We have a second.
I second.
If there's a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Now let's address the north face of the building, which is the painted surface with neon that is asking for a waiver to exceed the size, square footage.
Make the motion to follow staff's recommendations for approval on the sign on the north elevation and removing the rear parking sign from the top of the building. And if I can, go ahead and state that we're going to remove all the signs from the sign pole to the north of that north elevation with a waiver of maximum sign size.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second.
With that being said, I just have one other question on the previous motion we just made, because you just indicated the removal of the signs on the pole and so forth. Did we need to mention the removal of the smoke shop and the tattoo on the signs back on the previous motion?
That was one of
Did we
staff's
mention it again?
recommendations, so I thought it could go within the staff.
And those ones are already removed as well.
Okay.
So there is a second on the signage along the north face, including removing signage from the existing sign pole and for the waiver of size. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we can go to the Las Vegas Boulevard frontage. And whatever motion we make should be noted that this is still subject to the building department's review
Of the sign.
of how it's installed. Remember, Sean, you want to take a shot at this?
How about if we, make a motion to approve a not to exceed number of elevations, wall sign elevation, so that they can calculate what they need to add that tattoo sign. So my motion would be for the west elevation to include a maximum of 45% wall signage, to include the facade sign, which is Precious Slut, with the addition of tattoo, and keeping the window sign of Precious Slut, world famous Precious Slut.
And would that include removing the door signage and the word tattoo along that
Yes.
hill north?
Yeah.
The door sign, I think, is acceptable if it's under the 45%, but if they need room to get rid of, I think if we limit them to 45%, that should be enough. 50% I think is too much.
So, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, the words precious, the word slut, the words tattoo on the facade, the words precious and slut on the main window, and the word tattoo, is that on the door, or is that on the?
It's-
That would be
No,
the
he's talking
illuminated
about
above
the
the.
door.
Oh, that one, yeah.
It'd be this one?
Goes away.
This one goes away. What was the other, and then now, try to clarify now, it's getting more confusing.
That's why I think, we'll only give a maximum of 45%. We'll approve a waiver to allow a maximum of 45%, and they choose where it goes. I think we
Okay,
pretty much know where
great.
it's going to go.
Just make sure the words that they can use, you put on the record.
Which, 45%, which would allow for the relocation of the word tattoo, illuminated tattoo to the
Be-
front facade.
Okay, good.
And if you need the extra elevation, you take off the door to cover the tattoo.
Okay.
Is that workable for staff?
Just to be clear, the Precious Slut across the top with the tattoo underneath the neon and the Precious Slut window graphics comes to 38%?
Maybe in the 40s range.
Okay.
That's what I
So
figured.
that would be, that
45.
would work if they remove sign G in the door, sign A underneath, and the tattoo sign H.
Great.
And the applicants have agreed
Great. Yes.
with this.
Yes, that's great.
Okay.
So that's the.
My motion would be
clarified
to
motion.
allow 45% wall sign elevations on the west elevation, to include neon on the facade signs.
And then would we, that would still put us having to illuminate the window?
To eliminate?
Yes, they want
No.
set, would we be approved without illumination?
You'd be allowed, pardon?
Illumination,
Yeah, illumination.
not
Let
elimination.
me see. The waiver would be to allow a non-illuminated window sign
Great, okay,
as part of that 45% calculation.
great.
Does the clerk have all of that?
There's a test
Those are
later.
in the grade.
So, why don't we just do? Okay, why
I
don't you
think
do
I
it
can do
again?
it, I can do it, okay.
Okay, go ahead.
My motion would be to approve the western elevation with a 45% limit to all wall signs, including window signs. All exterior wall signs would have to be illuminated, interior window signs may be non-illuminated with the approved waiver.
And removal.
And that includes.
Well, I'm limiting to 45%. I mean, they're going to be,
So they have to.
they're not going to get the rest of the stuff. They might be able to keep a little something on the door, but
But, yeah, that's fine, thank you. This is
Do we have
great.
a second on that?
Second?
Okay, there's a second. All those in favor of the approval subject to all the conditions, please say aye.
aye.
Opposed? That is carried. And this is final action in the absence of an appeal.
10 days.
10 days.
Okay.
Now we come to, again, that portion of the agenda, citizens participation, public comment. And this portion of the agenda Must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the committee, no subject may be acted by the committee unless the subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to speak, please come forward, give your name for the record. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment. And
Mr. Chairman, before we adjourn the meeting, just a reminder that we do have a special meeting of the DDRC at 9 a.m. on the 24th, right here. And again, we do appreciate you all bearing with us and taking that application and hearing it at that date, as well as the clerk's office for facilitating that. Thank you.
thank you, and the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.